I do this to myself, really. Within the first 5 proper episodes of this series, I've covered Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter, and now Tomb Raider, because apparently I'm a fucking crazy person. Tomb Raider's 20th anniversary, folks. Young boys and girls who Lara jump-started into puberty are now older than she was in her debut. And most Americans still call her Laura, ironic when she was named Lara specifically because the devs thought Americans would struggle to pronounce Laura. Just play the intro. Welcome to A Line Through Time, where I take the time to look through your favourite franchises and work out how it all lines up. Now, some of you are probably wondering what was with that big freak out and the length of this video. I realised recently that not everybody, even within the Tomb Raider fanbase, is aware of how deep this series actually goes. I'm tempted to explain it now, but I'll save it for later once we reach that point in Tomb Raider history. We've got a lot to get through, so let's dive right into it. The series, I mean, not Lara's tiny shorts. The first game, Tomb Raider, released 20 years ago today for the Sega Saturn in Europe before seeing US and PlayStation releases the following month. The plot sees 28-year-old archaeologist Lara Croft on the hunt for Atlantis and discovering an ancient evil. There was a later PC release with 2 additional story chapters, one picking up directly from the end of the game where Lara destroys everything left of Atlantis, and one set a few months later with Lara on the hunt for a cat statue that, unlike poor Catwoman, does not possess her body for evil purposes. Yeah, that reference was a bit of a stretch. The first expansion will simply be counted as part of the main story for simplicity's sake. We also need to include the background detail that Lara's sense of adventure awoke when she survived a plane crash at age 21 and had to make it back to civilization on her own, as revealed in the first game's manual. The sequel, Tomb Raider 2 starring Lara Croft, released just over a year later with the major innovation of Lara actually having her ponytail in-game. It sees Lara searching for the Dagger of Xian. She kills a dragon and returns home to shoot the player before they can see her take a shower. Again, there was a re-release with additional content, this time a short standalone story about Lara looking for the Golden Mask of Tornasuk. Presumably, it takes place after the main game. Tomb Raider 3 Adventures of Lara Croft released in November 98. You may think that subtitle is redundant, but remember, Lara Croft became an icon of video games pretty much instantly. She was more famous than the games by far. Why else do you think the movie was titled Lara Croft Tomb Raider? She was even in Lucasade adverts, remember that? That was awesome! So Lara's seeking fragments of a meteorite that struck Antarctica millions of years ago. Along the way, fucking aliens! Lara learned a crystal can mutate people and she stopped a villain from mutating the whole world for some reason. Again, there was a short sequel chapter, this time released standalone as Tomb Raider 3 The Lost Artifact. Lara discovers a 5th meteorite fragment and has to stop the plot of one of the main game's minor antagonists, who explodes.
For no reason.
So obviously it's a sequel, but we'll count it as part of the main game because it's a continuation of the same plot. The next game didn't get an expansion like that because the PC version came first this time. Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, released in June 99, sees Lara unwittingly releasing the Egyptian god Set from his imprisonment. The plot also delves into Lara's past with her mentor Werner von Croy in 1984 when she was 16. Von Croy becomes possessed by Set in the present but is ultimately saved. Lara, meanwhile, ends up trapped inside the collapsed temple and presumed dead. While there was no expansion, there was a standalone collaboration level with the Times to coincide with the 77th anniversary of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. Sir Peter Stothard even appears in the level's intro. With Lara's presumed death carrying over to the next game and her publicly entering the Times offices here, I think it's safe to place this level shortly before the event of the main game. But before we see any resolution on this, June 2000 saw the series' first portable spin-off, Tomb Raider for the Game Boy Color. Seeing how Lara maintains her classic design here while all media after the second Game Boy game would use her Angel of Darkness design, I say this falls sometime shortly before Last Revelation. Later that year, Tomb Raider Chronicles picks up days after Last Revelation with Winston, Father Dunstan and Charles Kane reminiscing over Lara's previously untold adventures set across the timeline. At the same time, Von Croy heads up an excavation attempt to find Lara. The first of these adventures sees Lara in Rome on the hunt for the Philosopher's Stone. Oh look, another thing Americans can't say right. Pierre DuPont and Larson Conway from the first game are Lara's foils here, setting it before the first game because they kinda died there. Second is Lara going after the Spear of Destiny because all the most famous artifacts are relegated to what today would be a series of short DLC missions. This one supposedly comes between 3 and Last Revelation. The third takes place in Lara's childhood the same year as the Von Croy flashbacks from TLR. Lara is in Ireland and faces demons, ghosts and death himself apparently, when she was 16. Since the Cambodia flashback in TLR is that game's tutorial with Von Croy teaching Lara some moves, let's place the Ireland stage after that. The final story sees Lara break into Von Croy Industries to steal the artifact that almost got Von Croy killed in Cambodia. I thought she was supposed to think he was dead until he resurfaces, but then again she'd never met Larson and DuPont before TR1 until it was suddenly revealed that she did. So whatever. Supposedly it's set before TR3. Tomb Raider Curse of the Sword released in June 2001, 10 days after the live action movie and thus carried over the Lara Croft Tomb Raider branding. The plot sees a cult attempting to revive their dead mistress using Lara as a host. Lara's outfit is the classic look again, so before TLR. Next was 2002's GBA release Tomb Raider The Prophecy. The evil cult in this game is trying to use some stones to end the world. It's dumb. The game is the first to use the new Angel of Darkness design on the cover, though the in-game sprites do still keep the original outfit, so we'll put it on the end for now. May 2003, May 2004 and October 2004 brought us the mobile phone trilogy of the Osiris Codex, Quest for Cinnabar and Elixir of Life, not to be confused with the 2003 film The Cradle of Life, which you'd think they'd really want to avoid confusion with, but what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet, which means I'm automatically worse than people who make mainstream media for a living despite fucking Cradle of Life existing. The 3 games make up one story, with the Angel of Darkness design being used. This, with the fact they started release before AOD, means they go on the end. And this brings us to 2003's Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness. The story finally follows on from Last Revelation and Chronicles. It's never explained how Lara managed to escape the tomb, but she heads to Paris to meet with Von Croy, only to become implicated in his murder. She teams up with the series' second ever playable character, Curtis Trent, to stop a plot to revive an ancient Nephilim. Following this, a trilogy of tie-in novels saw release over 12 months from December 2003. The Amulet of Power, The Lost Cult, and The Man of Bronze. Bear in mind these books are hard to get a hold of for a decent price, so all of this information is based on plot synopses I found online because I'm not spending 17 fucking quid on a used book just for this video. Amulet of Power is intended to bridge the gap between TLR and AOD, picking up with Lara trapped inside the tomb from TLR and ending with her travelling to Paris and visiting Von Croy. The other two are set afterwards as Lara is now working for the CIA to clear her name of the Von Croy murder charges. Evidently, Lara's survival becomes relatively well known after the first novel, so her funeral and the subsequent reminiscence probably take place before or alongside the bulk of the novel. And there's nothing to suggest that Lara's visits to Von Croy in the novel and the start of AOD are the same visit, especially when the AOD scene suggests he asked her there. It's a lot more likely that she visits him intent on patching things up, but their emotions get the better of them and it all falls apart, so some animosity remains even by the time of AOD a few years later. This does leave room open for a few other adventures in between. As such, I'll have the GBA and mobile games fill the gap. I did mention the Prophecy using the original design in game, and the novel does have the new outfit on the cover, but I can't find any evidence to suggest Lara does start using those clothes in the novel itself. Furthermore, the novel's cover art, as with a lot of other Tomb Raider media at the time, is actually taken from Angel of Darkness promo art. They likely just wanted to push the new outfit to mark a new direction for the series, since they were planning to use Angel of Darkness as a springboard for a new trilogy, even if Lara isn't necessarily wearing those clothes in the novel itself. It's a symbol more than a literal representation of Lara in the novel. Anyway, following this, big changes occurred within the series. Thanks to the failure of Angel of Darkness and the second movie both in the same year, and I read that Universal blamed the game for the film being hot garbage, publisher Eidos moved development of the series from co-design in the UK to US-based Crystal Dynamics, tasked with overhauling the stale gameplay and making Lara not a psychotic murderer who kills security guards and police officers. Crystal Dynamics decided to just reboot the whole damn thing. Thus, 10 years after the series started, Tomb Raider Legend was released. This continuity draws from the films with both the description of Lara's parents and the design of Croft Manor, but no Chris Barry sadly. The plot sees Lara racing to acquire Excalibur as part of her search into her missing mother. The story also features two significant past events: Lara and her mother's plane crashing when Lara was 9, leading to Amelia's disappearance, and an adult Lara being the sole survivor of a massacre at an excavation site. While the game was being made, Core were working on Tomb Raider 10th Anniversary Edition, which, if you've seen the episode on game remakes, you'll know would have supplanted the original version in that canon. However, Legend proved very successful, so Eidos took the project and gave it to Crystal Dynamics. They took the framework from Legend and used it to make a TR1 themed DLC story effectively. Also literally, because that was the original way to get the game on the 360 before the physical release. Tomb Raider Anniversary, as it ultimately came to be known, is an alternate version of the first game's event in the new Legend timeline. As such, we can probably assume Lara is about the same age as she was in the original. It's also a prequel to Legend, since the latter ends with Lara setting off in search of her mother after obtaining a big breakthrough in her search, which is never mentioned in Anniversary. Also, Lara very clearly makes her first human kill in Anniversary, which horrifies her before she proceeds to murder hundreds and joke about it in Legend.
You have killed my men.
I've simplified your payroll.
2008's Tomb Raider Underworld closes the book on the Legend trilogy by tying the events of both previous games together. It's revealed that Natla from Anniversary murdered Lara's father while he was trying to find Amelia, who is ultimately turned into a zombie. Lara's doppelganger from Anniversary also returns, though it's probably a new one. This is significant because this is the first game in the series to have DLC, unless you count Anniversary's initial release. In this case, we have Beneath the Ashes, where Lara explores caves beneath Croft Manor, and Lara's Shadow, where the player assumes the role of the doppelganger. Both are set after the main game and occur simultaneously, with a scene where Lara uses the doppelganger's command phrase to free her from Natla's control being depicted in both chapters. But this is not the end for the Legend timeline, oh no. 2010 gave us Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, an isometric top-down co-op platform shooter. You can tell this is part of the Legend timeline just because Keeley Hawes, objectively the best Lara Croft, reprises the role from the Legend trilogy. Lara is forced to release the evil Zololt, who plots to take over the world or some shit, while Totek, the titular Guardian of Light, joins her on her quest. Unless you've got no friends, in which case he just comes and goes while Lara does everything. On the end. In 2013, the series was rebooted for the second time, with the game simply titled Tomb Raider. So yes, there are actually 3 separate Tomb Raider game continuities. I realised recently through conversation with a friend that a lot of people don't know about this and believe there was only one reboot, with Legend continuing on from Angel of Darkness, or that the current reboot is a prequel to all that. But no, there are 3. I'll be using the names the Tomb Raider Wikia uses for these 3 timelines: Classic, Legend, and Survivor. A simple way of looking at it is that Classic is the campy pre-Crisis timeline that everybody knows, Legend is the post-Crisis timeline with a heavily retconned backstory in a more serious tone, and Survivor is the dark and gritty New 52 version where everyone's a decade younger. Also, the Legend timeline began on the 10th anniversary of the original series' birth, while the Survivor timeline began on the 10th anniversary of its death. Weird. The decision to reboot was likely brought about by the team's desire to tell a gripping origin story for Lara, but the brutal events that shape her could never be shown happening to a 9-year-old, so it didn't fit in the Legend continuity. We'll come back to this later though, as the Legend timeline actually did continue, and it'll be easy to explain all of this if I focus on one timeline at a time. Guardian of Light marked a brand split for the franchise. The main series continued under the Tomb Raider name in the Survivor timeline, which is where the franchise's main focus has been since 2013. However, the Legend timeline has continued through a line of spin-off games under the Lara Croft branding, which I guess is there to both allow for experimentation and also provide for people who prefer a lighter, adventurous tone over the gritty survival tone of the main series. It was Lara Croft Reflections, an iOS battle card game from December 2013 that proved this. The plot involves parallel universes, which you'd think they'd save for a big anniversary like the 20th where the 3 Laras can team up. There isn't much as far as plot connections go, so let's say it's after Lara's dealt with everything relating to her parents and Natla and put it on the end. 12 months later, Guardian of Light received a sequel in the form of Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, marking the second time Lara has gone up against Set, providing an obvious villain alliance for a big crossover. No, I'm never letting this go. On the end. May 2015 brought us another iOS game, this one being a temple run style game called LARACROFT Relic Run. Lara is searching for a missing compatriot Carter from Temple of Osiris. On the end. In August, Lara Croft Go released with minimal plot, but I've counted games with about as much before, so here it is. Lara is searching for the Atlas of Beyond. What it does, I have no idea, but I'm counting the game. On the end. After this, Dark Horse produced a new comic set in this timeline from October 2015 to February 2016, Lara Croft and the Frozen Omen. Once again, Carter is a main character with allusions to Egypt, placing it after Osiris, but some fans are unsure as to the exact placement of the comic until Relic Run's full story is complete, on account of Carter's fate remaining unknown. I doubt one of the series' few recurring characters will die in an iOS spin-off, so I'll say that Frozen Omen falls after Relic Run as it does in the release schedule. Finally, July 2016 saw a novel in this continuity, Lara Croft and the Blade of Guinevere, which is spelled like the Guinevere from Dark Souls rather than the Arthurian version. I don't know, but that's the Legend timeline so far. Let's move on to the Survivor timeline. Tomb Raider 2013 sees a 21-year-old Lara Croft getting shipwrecked with friends while searching for the mythical island of Yamatai. Most of her friends die and a survivor is born, hence the name of the timeline. The same day, Dark Horse released a short prequel comic called Tomb Raider: The Beginning that fleshes out the backstory of the crew of the Endurance leading up to the game. This led into the full series of comics Dark Horse was produced from February 2014 to July 2015, with Gail Simone of Wonder Woman and Batgirl fame writing for the first 2 arcs. The first 3 arcs, Season of the Witch, Secrets and Lies and Queen of Serpents, bridge the gap between the first 2 games of this timeline, while the 4th onwards fall between the 2nd and 3rd. October 2014 saw the release of the Survivor Timeline novel, Tomb Raider: The 10,000 Immortals, which picks up a year after the game. The novel is considered canonical by Crystal Dynamics, but there are vast contradictions with the comics, such as a character who died in the comic appearing in the novel, Lara undergoing psychiatric treatment while no such thing happened in the full year of comics. If I had to make a final statement, and I kinda do, I'd say that the broader events of the novel, i.e. the search for the Golden Fleece to undo her friend Sam's possession, is canon, but the smaller details such as Sam's current position and the fact that Lara learns about the Trinity for the first time twice are not. Since the possession is still an ongoing plot thread in the comic, let's place the novel after the 3rd arc but before the sequel. November 2015 was when we received a new game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, whose name I won't make fun of since everything you could possibly say about it already has been. Lara spent a year researching immortal beings after encountering Himiko in the last game. This research leads Lara and her one remaining friend Jonah on a quest to find the mythical city of Kitesh. As I've already established, it's after the novel, but before the 2nd series of comics, which currently has 2 arcs, Spore and Choice and Sacrifice. Additionally, Rise and Blood Ties expand on Lara's parents, giving us 2 new important events. Lara's mother survived a plane crash only to then freeze to death in the snow, while her father was disgraced and guilt-ridden, leading to his supposed suicide, whereupon his bloody corpse was found by young Lara. I think Crystal Dynamics might be taking it a bit too far in the newer games. Like Underworld, the game received 2 downloadable story expansions, with a 3rd edition coming in the PS4 version, Baba Yaga: The Temple of the Witch, Cold Darkness Awakened, and Blood Ties. Blood Ties is set between the main game's prologue and the rest of the story, Baba Yaga is set during the main story, and Cold Darkness Awakened is set some time after. And with that, all 3 timelines are complete aside from when these stories each take place, so let's get to it. Lara Croft's birthday is the 14th of February. Gamers' greatest sex symbol was born on the Day of Love. Yeah, coincidence. Supposedly it's not been confirmed for Survivor Lara, but in the absence of a confirmed date, most fans assume she shares it with Classic and Legend Lara. Another assumption you can make for most media set in the present is that the games all take place roughly when they're released, which naturally changes what year each Lara was born in. Classic Lara was 28 years old in Tomb Raider 1, which released in 1996. Therefore, she was born on Valentine's Day 1968. Let's add in the release year for each of the main entries to get us started. Now for the rest. Both of Lara's teenage adventures occurred in 1984 when she was 16 years old, which explains how they got away with this. She was 21 when she survived the plane crash from her backstory, making that 1989. The Paris mission from Chronicles is set before the first game, so let's just say 1995. 98 and 99 are very busy for Lara, so I'll place the Von Croy Industries mission in the much more open 1997. The Russian submission can be placed in 98, and since we're placing Lara's funeral in 2000, TLR has to occur in late 99, leaving the early year quite open. Let's use a seemingly arbitrary detail next before I completely blow your mind. The first Game Boy game's cover shows Lara with her trademark circular red shades. The second does not. She wears them on the cover for TR3 but not TLR. So what if she stopped wearing them after 1998 with the Game Boy game as her last time using them? You may think it irrelevant on account of her having shades again in the AOD design, but those have black lenses, not red. They're actually different shades, so her stopping using the old ones is now a plausibly canonical detail. If you don't like that, just say both years get an equal number of adventures or whatever. It may seem like this part contradicts or ignores what I said about the AOD artwork earlier on, but give me a break guys, I'm doing the best I can. The first novel picks up around the same time as Chronicles, so that's in 2000 as well. The other two released in 2004, so that's the year we're going with. There are 2 more items left and 2 more years to fill. I think you see where this is going. And with that, Classic Lara's adventures conclude in 2004. Classic Lara is currently 48 years old. It's a little less clear for Legend Lara. This thing's really kicked my ass for a while. She debuted in 2006, but Legend wasn't her first playable adventure. That honour goes to Tomb Raider Anniversary, the remake of the first game. We could assume Anniversary Lara and TR1 Lara are the same age, making Lara 28 during Anniversary, but she seems much younger and less experienced than the original did. Additionally, Anniversary's intro claims the game to take place in 1996, just like the original. If they're setting the game in the same year as the original, then it's safe to assume she is supposed to be the same age. This would then make her 38 during Legend in 2006 and 40 in Underworld in 2008. We could make her 28 during Legend, but that makes her 18 in Anniversary and even younger in the Excavation Massacre, which seems really unlikely. If we assume the Excavation Massacre is the equivalent to the plane crash from the original timeline and events on Yamatai in the next, the inciting incident that awakens Lara's sense of adventure, we could place Lara at 21 right out of college. This takes place not too long before Anniversary in 1996. We know this because Lara is totally unequipped in Peru compared to Anniversary, and her college friends are nowhere to be seen in the latter. Additionally, we need some time to pass between these two events since Lara doesn't even bat an eye when Natla asks her to head to the country where all her friends died. What if we match up the Excavation Massacre to Lara's year of birth in the next timeline, 1992? This would make Lara 25 in 1996 and 35 in 2006. So with Lara being made mid-30s for Legend and Underworld, it's much more feasible. However, Lara is never suggested to have attended finishing school or any other special educational institute as in the original timeline, just college. Why is this relevant? This means that Lara likely finished school at 16 and attended college until she was 21. We can assume she took an archaeology course, which my research indicates typically takes 3 years to complete. If we ignore the 1992 tie-in and say that the 21 years old tie-in is Anniversary where she's clearly younger than 28, say that she attended college for 3 years from ages 16 to 19, 1991 to 1994, the Excavation Massacre then takes place in 94, she's 31 in Legend and 33 in Underworld, and born in 1975, 7 years after Classic Lara. This all gives Lara a good 2 years to mostly get over her trauma and achieve relative fame through her exploits, and allows Lara to be a more realistic age in the climax of the trilogy. This version survives a plane crash at age 9, so 1984. Her father then disappears when she's 17 in 1992. After that, every remaining story can fit comfortably into the year of release, ranging from 2009 to 2016. The only exceptions are Underworld's DLC, since Lara's Shadow picks up immediately from the end of Underworld and both DLCs run concurrently with one another, meaning they're both set in 2008 alongside the main game. Legend Lara is currently 41 years old. And as I said before, Survivor Lara was born in 1992, meaning she was in my year at school. God, I'm old. The reboot released in 2013. The prequel comic leads directly into it, so 2013. The novel is set a year later, so 2014. The first arc of the comics began in 2013, while the second started in 2014. Let's say that those two arcs are set in 2014 ahead of the novel. Rise and all of its additional chapters come in 2050. Richard Croft's tombstone lists his death as 2003, fittingly when the franchise almost died, making Lara 11. Amelia's death is unspecified, but it was before then and with enough time for Richard to get a new girlfriend, so likely in the late 90s. The next two comic arcs released in 2016, so they go there. Survivor Lara is currently 24 years old. With that all sorted, we can finally move on to the finale, so without further ado, the Tomb Raider timelines go a little something like this. Classic timeline. 14th of February 1968. Lara Croft is born to Lord Henchingley Croft and his wife. 1984. The 16-year-old Lara accompanies Werner von Croy on an expedition to Angkor Wat in search of an artifact known as the Iris. A booby trap forces Lara to flee the tomb, leaving von Croy for dead. Lara later stays with the family butler Winston in Ireland. She stows away aboard Father Bram Dunstan's boat as he investigates a disturbance on the Black Isle, where they prevent the demon Verdule from escaping his prison. 1989. While returning from a skiing trip, Lara's plane crash lands in the Himalayas, leaving Lara as the only survivor. During her 2-week trek back to civilization, Lara awakens to her love of adventure, prompting her parents to disown her. Lara turns to writing and archaeology expeditions, quickly amassing her own fame and fortune. During this time, she discovers the Ark of the Covenant and Bigfoot. 1995. Lara retrieves the Philosopher's Stone in Rome while rivaled by Larson Conway and Pierre Dupont. 1996. Lara is hired by Jacqueline Natler to obtain the Atlantean Scion. Lara discovers that Natler was once the corrupt Queen of Atlantis with intention to use the Scion to breed a race of powerful mutants. Travelling to Atlantis, Lara kills Natler and escapes before the island is destroyed. Lara later travels to Kharmoon in search of a tomb dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Bastet. 1997. Lara races to find the dagger of Xi'an before the Italian cult the Flamma Nera can obtain it. The cult's leader, Marco Bartoli, obtains the dagger and transforms into a dragon before being killed by Lara. She then finishes off the cult members when they stage an assault on Croft Manor. Later, Lara investigates sightings of the Mask of Tornasuk in Alaska. Upon learning that Von Croy survived and returned home with the Iris, Lara breaks into Von Croy Industries HQ and steals the artifact. 1998. Lara collects a series of meteorite fragments across the world, foiling the plot of Dr. Mark Willard along the way. Lara later discovers the Spear of Destiny while opposed by the Russian Mafia. Lara finds and destroys the Nightmare Stone to keep its power from falling into the wrong hands. 1999. Followers of the long-dead Madame Pavot attempt to revive their mistress, using Lara's body as a vessel. Lara destroys a sword necessary for the ritual, ending Madame Pavot's threat for good. Lara is contacted by the Times newspaper to explore newly discovered tunnels in Tutankhamun's tomb. Lara later obtains the Amulet of Horus, unwittingly releasing the Egyptian god Set from imprisonment. Set possesses Von Croy and uses him in an attempt to kill Lara. Lara utilizes the Light of Horus to seal Set for good. As Lara flees the collapsing temple, the entrance is blocked by rubble and Lara is presumed dead. Von Croy begins an operation to reopen the temple while Lara is rescued and taken to a hospital in Cairo by a member of the Mahdists who believe her to be in possession of the Amulet of Marish. 2000. A funeral service is held for Lara at Croft Manor. Lara tracks down and destroys the Amulet of Marish. She then starts a new life in Paris. 2001. Lara prevents the Teg du Borés cult from reviving their patron, the Great Grey One. 2002. Lara is hired to obtain the Osiris Codex and the Urn of Cinnabar to allow her benefactor to restore his lost body. Discovering the truth, Lara shuts down his life support and leaves the artifacts behind. 2003. Lara is framed for the murder of Werner von Croy, leading her into conflict with the Cabal as they attempt to revive a dormant Nephilim. Lara kills the Nephilim and returns home. 2004. Lara begins working for the CIA to wipe her record clean of the Von Croy murder. She comes into conflict with another cult trying to cover up an ancient conspiracy. Lara works with the Order of Bronze to restore the bronze android and keep it from falling into the wrong hands. Legend Timeline. 14th of February 1975. Lara Croft is born to Richard and Amelia Croft. 1984. Lara and Amelia survive a plane crash in the Himalayas. They discover a portal to Helheim which Amelia disappears through. Lara walks to Kathmandu where she's picked up by her father. 1992. Richard Croft begins working with Jacqueline Natler to find Amelia. Upon learning of Natler's true motives, he betrays her and she kills him. 1994. Lara and her college friends perform an excavation in Peru where a mysterious creature slaughters all but Lara and Amanda Everett. 1995. Lara discovers Bigfoot. 1996. Lara is hired by Natler to obtain the Atlantean Scion. Lara discovers that Natler was once a corrupt Queen of Atlantis with intentions of using the Scion to breed a race of powerful mutants. Travelling to Atlantis, Lara seemingly kills Natler and escapes before the island is destroyed. 2006. While investigating the circumstances surrounding her mother's disappearance and the incidents in Peru, Lara discovers that Amanda is alive and that Amelia was spirited away to Helheim. 2008. Amanda and Natler send a doppelganger of Lara to destroy Croft Manor. Lara travels to Helheim where she euthanizes her mother and defeats Natler and Amanda. Natler survives thanks to the doppelganger and sends her to kill Lara. She encounters Lara while investigating the catacombs beneath Croft Manor. Lara uses the doppelganger's command phrase to release her clone from Natler's control. The doppelganger then returns to Natler and kills her. 2010. Xololt, the Aztec god of death, is released from his imprisonment in the Mirror of Smoke. Lara teams up with the Guardian of Light, Totek, to destroy Xolot's armies and return him to his imprisonment. Totek returns to his slumber to await the next time he is needed. 2013. While hunting a new treasure, Lara unwittingly opens a doorway to a parallel universe. To prevent the world from being thrown out of balance, Lara searches for a way to close the door, which he eventually does. 2014. Lara and Carter Bell uncover the Staff of Osiris, unwittingly releasing the Egyptian gods Isis and Horus from their imprisonment at the hands of Set. The four unite to restore Osiris and defeat Set for good. 2015. Carter disappears in Cambodia while on a hunt for relics. Lara picks up his trail and saves him from the evil Asura Rahu. Lara uncovers the Atlas of Beyond. Lara and Carter prevent the unnameable from causing the apocalypse and reshaping the Earth in its own image. 2016. After being beaten to the recovery of a priceless antiquity, Lara sets off in search of the Blade of Guinevere, bringing her adventures full circle. Survivor Timeline. 14th of February 1992. Lara Croft is born to Richard and Amelia Croft. Late 1990s. Amelia is killed in a plane crash. Richard begins research into immortality, ruining his name in the eyes of his peers. He also enters into a relationship with a woman named Anna. 2003. Overcome with grief, Richard allegedly shoots himself in his study. His body is discovered by Lara. 2013. Lara and her friends go on an expedition to find the mythical island of Yamatai. They end up shipwrecked on the island and captured by a cult known as the Solari. The Solari attempt to use Samantha Nishimura as a host to revive the Sun Queen Himiko. Most of the crew are killed and Lara is forced to kill to survive. She kills Matthias and returns home with her 3 remaining friends. 6 weeks later, a group of Solari worshippers perform a ritual on Yamatai to revive Matthias, using their leader Matsu as a host. Lara kills Matsu with a grenade, ending Matthias for good. 2014. While delivering a watch to a late friend's sister, Lara learns of the organization Trinity and becomes their target. Following an encounter with the Queen of Serpents, Himiko's influence over Sam strengthens, leading to her arrest on an assault charge and internment in the Swedish Hallberg institution. Hoping to release Himiko's hold over Sam, Lara searches for the Golden Fleece. The results are fruitless, leading to Lara refocusing on completing her father's research into immortal beings. 2015. Lara travels to Syria to follow the trail of the Prophet of Constantinople, hoping it will lead her to the mythical city of Kitesh. She is attacked by Trinity forces led by a man named Constantine. She escapes with a new lead tying to one of her father's books. Lara uncovers her father's will, granting her full ownership of the Croft estate and all of its assets. She moves back into Croft Manor. Richard's book leads Lara to Siberia. There, she discovers that Anna is an agent for Trinity and Constantine's sister. She fights through Trinity forces and mortally wounds Constantine, who tells her that Richard was actually assassinated by Trinity. Lara obtains the immortality-granting divine source, which she destroys to keep it from being taken by Trinity. Anna corroborates her brother's claims about Richard, but is herself assassinated before she can reveal more. Lara vows to continue battling Trinity and uncover the truth behind her father's death. Before returning home, Lara investigates the legend of Baba Yaga and a viral outbreak at an abandoned Soviet facility, ridding the land of both threats. 2016. Lara is attacked by the Brotherhood of the Spore, who seek a mushroom that grants immortality. Lara wipes out the entire group and leaves the poisonous mushroom where it lies. Hallberg is taken over by Trinity, who perform experiments on the patients. Fully consumed by Himiko's spirit, Sam escapes the asylum. Lara vows to find her friend before Trinity does. Lara Croft remains a classic icon of video games, less for the size of her breasts and more for her character and the quality of her games. People who look at Lara's design and automatically make judgments about her being a shallow sex object without looking deeper and observing her value as a person are no better than the shallow sexist they like to paint all of her fans as. The fans appreciate who Lara is while you people only see what she is. So really, who is it who actually objectifies her? Oh, and Anita? Fuck off, mate.